mute ourselves again.
Yes, maybe Tomi, you keep online, and everyone mute, and apart from Tomi. It's interesting. He's.
Hi guys, so we have the sound now on and we can go live. Please unmute your cameras. Just a second, please.
Okay. I'm going to count down. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome everybody on this session. My name is Tomi Järvinen, Director for International Cooperation at Finchurch 8, based in Finland, but working over 13 countries all across the globe. First of all, thank you for Dubai Cares, Ministry for Foreign Affairs of Finland, especially Mr. Jaakko Skantsi, who will be presenting later on, and government representatives, donor representatives, and colleagues all over the world. A huge thank you for allowing us to be a part of this event, and welcome everyone online to follow the session. Change is here, and the experts and professionals have coined the change as the fourth industrial revolution. We feel it and make use of it, and now it's the time to understand the consequences of the change for our sector. Whether the change will affect us positively or negatively, it's about leadership. Political leadership, but also the leadership of us all. The revolution will have inevitable effects also, for example, in African continent, where there is a huge potential for growth. New technologies, advanced digitalization, connectivity have potential to drive Africa forward in a manner that we have not seen before. By 2030, Africa's potential workforce will be among the world's largest. So without attempts to move beyond existing models of innovation, entrepreneurship, and digital growth on the continent, African businesses risk falling further behind and widen the digital divide, also lowering the global competitiveness. More than 60% of the world's refugee population live in urban areas where digitalization has already changed the way people work and live their lives. While many of the more traditional jobs exist also in urban areas, the future work will be increasingly require creativity, entrepreneurship, and digital fluency. COVID-19 has changed the world. In many countries, education has moved online overnight. Digital skills have become the means to get income or access and continue studies. The restrictions of movement have put a huge number of people out of work. Creative industries is one of the fastest growing sectors in the world. It's an essential pillar of socioeconomic growth, also in developing countries. It creates jobs, innovation, and trade. It contributes to social inclusion, cultural diversity, and sustainable human development. NGOs and donors can no longer overlook the potential of creative industries. It has one of the largest untapped potential in countries where we work. The sector can create jobs and improve well-being of future beneficiaries. The creative industries represent sectors where vital future skills are creativity, entrepreneurship, and digital skills combine. So the youth in low and middle income countries must be prepared for the jobs of the future, not for the jobs of the past or the jobs of the present. Creative industries is not driven by governments or NGO interventions. However, adequate training and facilitation can give talented youth the platform to monetize their talents and generate an income. For NGOs to continue to be effective in the changing global economy, we need to up-to-date the news. We need up-to-date tools to target the work of young urban beneficiaries. I will now give the platform to my colleagues Jenni and Ville, who will turn us from theory to practice, from ideas to action. Over to you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting us to speak at this interesting event. My name is Jenni, and I worked in the creative industry for about 25 years, mainly in senior management and executive positions in TV and film industry. I've also produced a lot of theater events and radio. I have worked very closely with FCA for years now, consulting them in various projects. And currently I'm working with Ville as a senior specialist in designing this interesting and exciting new program.
And my name is Ville Wacklin, the other part of FCA Creative Industries team. I work as a senior program manager at FCA. I have a background in education. I have worked in schools here in Finland and later internationally with FCA. But I also have a background in creative industries, working as a songwriter for more than 10 years.
So we wanted to start by kind of defining the creative industries. When we talk about creative industries, obviously we mean businesses that are based on individual creativity, skill and talent. We can talk about businesses like publishing, architecture, fashion, television, games, performing arts. When we talk about creative industries, we talk about businesses that have the potential to create wealth and jobs by developing and monetizing the intellectual property, what we call as IP. It is vital to understand that most creative activities rely on digital technologies, and our focus here is mainly on digital creative industries, such as music, audiovisual media, mobile video games, digital marketing, etc. You hear very often the sentences about digital and creative kind of in the same sentence, but they're not the same, but the distinction is constantly evolving and becoming far less clear, since defining creative industries in general is very challenging. They keep changing as technology develops further. I think we all recognize that some creative industries did not even exist before the advent of digital technology. Think about mobile game industry, and some creative industries have been totally transformed by the digitalization, like the film industry. We feel that for us working as an NGO, there are several very important reasons why we need to focus on the creative industry. One, of course, is that the number of unemployed urban youth is growing very rapidly in the low-income countries, and we all feel that NGOs do not necessarily have the up-to-date tools to reach all the growing urban young beneficiaries. And as Tomi already said in the beginning, the creative economy is growing very fast in many parts of the world. However, we also know that the creativities in low-income countries, they lack the know-how, they lack the networks, they lack channels to deliver their products, even though they have the talent.
And regardless, everything Jenni and also Tomi has just mentioned here, the governments in low-income countries generally do not value the potential of creative industries as a source of income. This poses a big problem, for example, for beginning young creative entrepreneurs who are pursuing their careers in the creative space. And it's not only a government issue, I think it's also a cultural thing. It's in many of the low-income countries, for parents, for example, if a young person says that, okay, I'm going to pursue my career as an artist or a creative entrepreneur, it's going to be a difficult task to pass it through your parents. I think it's more accepted to pursue a career in, as a doctor or lawyer or one of these traditionally respected professions. And we are hoping to be part of this movement that will eventually change the perceptions on this. And after all, there are a lot of enabling drivers, such as decreasing data costs and improving connectivity that will boost opportunities in online-based businesses, which are at the core of creative industries. And the other fact is that creativity is one of the core work-life skills in the future, since it's very difficult to automate.
And one thing I could add to this final conclusion is that we all also know that there are a lot of experiments, for example, to create music with artificial intelligence, and the results are very exciting and promising. And we also know that we can produce films by replacing the actors digitally nowadays. But however, if let's say you produce a film and there's a digital Tom Cruise or digital Nicole Kidman, however, somebody needs to write the script for the film and somebody has to direct it. So there will always be jobs that are just impossible to automate.
Yes, thank you, Jenni. Then a few words about buzzwords in the NGO world. Every second year, there's a new buzzword in the NGO world. When I entered the business, there was public-private partnerships, which we are, by the way. Jenni is working as a consultant and I work for FCA. And then there was resilience, which we tried to define as an NGO for 2 years without really thinking what this means in practice. And then there was innovation, which we then again started defining what it means, but then the practice lacked. And we see that this is sometimes a problem for NGOs, that we think that it's more important to academically define these new terms that pop up, rather than thinking that what's there in the practice that can really benefit for sustainable growth. And now, for obvious reason, digitalization is the latest buzzword, and for good reason, because understanding what happened with the pandemic and everything. So most of the stuff is digitalized this year. And the way we want to bring digitalization to practice is that it's at the core of many of the creative industries. Creative industries live off digitalization, and many of the businesses and services and products are done digitally.
So we want to introduce you to our pilot. In the beginning of this year, we piloted our new program in Kampala, Uganda. And we're going to share a video with you. We produced some material from our project, and let us all look into that now.
Look, all I want is moolah. Every day I'm Mukasa. For them pese or will I'm buchuke and I get for Nayaka said, or Chirabocha, Nachoyagana Chebalita. I've been Nugunga Chibata. Mano, will I'm when your mango, the natural young and a mamo for me. That's why I keep looking for the money. Gotta take care of my family. We all know time is money, so if you own me, you need to. All I want is moolah, moolah. Every day by Muku cola, cola. I need nothing but the moolah, moolah.
The creative industry in Uganda, I would characterize as full of content and full of people who can produce that content because people are passionate about what they like to do. But what happens with that content then is the problem. We failed to find a way to properly monetize that content.
The game scene in Uganda is just starting to take flight. I believe the game industry can flourish. The market is there. And that hunger has now developed that we need to see content coming from here.
Creative industry in Uganda is funny. It's really growing, it's bubbling. But I believe there are very, very many creatives who are really good at what they do, but they just don't have a platform.
I know there are game developers out there in Uganda, but we need to come together and form a community so we can all benefit from each other. This is a very good opportunity to meet some people in the industry.
Take my girl, but not my moolah. Moolah, chases moolah.
You find someone has the interest, but then the interest dies down because there's no support. So in case we have the support, gaming development industry in Uganda will really rise, and it rises at a very faster speed.
Three, two, one, start.
Thank you. So that was a video made of our workshop earlier this year in Uganda, Kampala. We gathered 30 Ugandan talents to network, develop games and produce music, and to learn about creative industries in a one-week workshop. By the way, the song in the video was made in the workshop by the local producers and artists. We partnered with Ugandan, Kenyan, Irish, and Finnish creative industry professionals to provide this training and establish new networks.
So we wanted to share some of our own learnings from the pilot week, and one key learning for us and also for the participants were the importance of networking among other creativities. In a culture where we come from, for example, Finland, we are taught to collaborate and work in teams from early on, from kindergarten, but that is not necessarily so in contexts like Uganda. So the importance of networking came up in all the testimonials of our young students. Then also the demand for training in the creative industry was obvious because everybody who attended was super enthusiastic, and we almost had to stop them by learning 24/7. Then we also saw the huge potential in youth and talent. Almost all the participants, all the 30 participants, they were from age 16 to age 35. All of them were self-taught. However, they were super talented. They just needed a push. They needed the network. They needed some official training. So, and one important thing that we learned, that as part of our future training, we want to help the youth to develop that special creative entrepreneurial mindset, which has to do a lot of understanding teamwork and understanding collaboration, etc. But now we would like to introduce to you a couple of real creative industry entrepreneurs from Uganda, Kampala. We are inviting Ronald and Phillip from a game studio called Clan of Kings to join our session. We met Ronald and Phillip for the first time when we were doing research for our pilot 2019. So welcome to Ronald and Phillip. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Hi, my name is Ronald. Kayima. Me and Phillip started our company, Clan of the Kings, in 2008. Originally, we're a comic book company, and we saw a potential to get into the gaming industry, and we took it. That was around 3 years ago, and we have been working on our first title called Sunjata, Trumpet of Last Day, about African mythology, fantasy, sword action, you know. And that has been us this past three years. Phillip?
Great.
Right. Hi, guys. My name is Phillip. Ron has given you a breakdown already. Me and him started Clan of the Kings quite some time back. So I guess I handle operations, Ron handles creative. And we basically just sort of run like that. We're trying to just put a spotlight onto the Ugandan creative industry and show them that even from here, we can actually reach the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So welcome, guys. Ronald, you already briefly shared your interesting story, but maybe you have something to add. And I wanted to ask you the question about the reality of being a creative entrepreneur in Uganda, because we also learned at very early stage that you are actually the one and only game studio who is launching on Xbox and PlayStation. So could you please fill us in a little bit in the potential challenges you are currently facing and the challenges you have been facing when you have set up your business?
Yes, sure thing. So one of our immediate challenges that we faced was the lack of people who could actually help build this game with us. It was very shocking, to realize that we were probably the only interested people in wanting to do this. And, there is a lack of training here because we had to teach ourselves using YouTube videos how to put a game together. That has been our learning curve. So there has been a very large lack of training in the, generally in the creative industry. Like Ville had mentioned, it's also a cultural thing. A lot of people who would be interested to do this are afraid to do this because of what their parents would think. It's very hard to convince some of our parents that this is an industry that can thrive. And the fact that it does not have any actual foundation, I guess that's what we're trying to create with Phillip. The fact that there's no foundation prior to us, it is a difficult sell that if we do this could be the beginning of something huge, which is something we firmly believe in. And that has been, I think that has been a constant struggle, from the beginning to the current. Networking is also another thing. It's a slow process where we have been finding some people who are now jumping into the gaming industry. Mostly mobile phone and VR is what we've come across, but there is just no platform, or no strong platform that connects all of us together. And I must say that one of the strongest platforms I saw was when you guys came to Kampala and had the workshop. Just as surprised as you were, that was me and Phillip, to see that many young people interested to actually want to jump on board.
Thank you for the kind words, Ronald and Phillip. So as a last question for you, and Phillip maybe, or Ronald, or whoever wants to answer, what do you think, what should be done in the education sector in Uganda to boost the potential of creative industries?
I think the main thing that has to be done is accepting, first of all, our limits, what is actually holding us back, and then finding a way around that. Because I feel that's what made us reach where we are with our game. We accepted, we don't have this, we don't have that. So how can we change this? How can we turn the disadvantage into an advantage? Another thing that I think would help is to change just the learning system in general. We're currently using an old system to teach the youth. And I think that kills a lot of the enthusiasm that they might have. I saw, it's something that you don't see too often people enjoying themselves as they're learning. And we saw that at the workshop. And I think that style of education, you know, is actually what is needed. Another thing that would help, I think, is just encouragement, you know, find a way how to encourage people, which is what me and Phillip have been working on by creating content that brings pride to being, you know, a creative developer of any kind.
Thank you, guys. Glad to hear from your experiences, and I hope the people in the audience will connect with Ron and Phillip. They have an exciting story to tell. But now I think it's interesting to hear from the Finnish perspective what education sector has done in Finland. But before going into questions, please, Jaakko, would you like to say a few words about you?
Hello, hopefully you can hear me well. My name is Jaakko Skantsi, and I work as a Counsellor for Education and Science here in Abu Dhabi. And of course, I'm really thankful for being able to participate in this event with the FCA, and also I'm looking very much forward to next year when the Expo 2020 commences fully and the Rewired event then, hoping to see you, at least some of you, face to face then. Yeah, so I think when we talk about the vocational education and training in Finland, there are a couple of things that should be taken into account. First of all, almost half of the upper secondary student enroll in VET after basic education at the age of 16. So it's seen as a real as regarded as a good choice for the students, also by the parents. Another reason that actually enhances the VET system is that the Finnish education system as a whole doesn't lead, any of the paths that the student takes doesn't lead to a dead end. So that kind of gives people possibilities of experimenting and seeing what they really want to do. And this is actually quite critical, for example, creative industries and creative sector, because if you don't take that leap of faith, you will never actually see what you could have become. There was a reform in Finland 2018 to enhance the VET system even further, to address the changing needs of the world of work, and to kind of see and prepare the students for the future. Also, at the same time, everything came under the same umbrella. So whether you were an adult or a student directly out of basic education, all of these different target groups would be actually being under the same umbrella. So you might have a young person or adult or from working life who needed upskilling or reskilling, or an unemployed person who still was missing their first qualification, or maybe the qualification that they had needed some tweaking, or they started to study something and train for something totally different. And why was this done then? The reform, the change in skills needs for both individual and world of work is evident right now. And what we need, there was the buzzword that Ville mentioned, the resilience. So I think the flexibility and agility of any education system has been tested this year quite thoroughly. The goal of VET in Finland there were a number of goals, but some that I would like to highlight especially was to make it easily approachable. So first of all, that whether you had an earlier qualification to people even with prior degree in master's or PhD degree. So actually in Finland, when you look at the qualifications, when a person, the people who enter VET do specialist vocational qualification, about 20% of them already have a degree, master's degree or PhD. So it's in the the vocational education training is something that can be modular and support the lifelong learning. Secondly, it should be demand driven. I think Ronald there highlighted the fact that although there's this growing need for addressing these issues in Uganda as well, sometimes the systems they don't live up to bar of addressing the changing nature of the world of work. So we need to we need workforce that has skills and competencies relevant in the future, as Tomi said. And this is a key importance for any nation. And naturally, this means that we need to have good data as well. And unfortunately, in Finland, we do have that, and some foresight to an extent as well. Thirdly, there's a further focus on learning outcomes and extensive accreditation of prior learning. It doesn't make sense of having everyone sit through all the same things. As I mentioned, that the people who enter VET in Finland might have very different backgrounds. So the competencies and skills that the person already has acquired, either through working or in their previous studies, are recognized in the Finnish system. And then lastly, the speed of change and the progress, how fast things are changing right now, as it's been highlighted during this panel discussion as well. The latest know-how and innovation is actually at the companies and at the world of work. So connecting the VET system or TVET or whatever the country wants to call it to the world of work and the companies where the newest know-how is present, because these companies will not survive if they don't have the innovative and new ways of doing business, is essential. So I think those were the main things.
Thank you, Jaakko, for this throughout insight on how Finnish education system has answered to the challenges of future work life and future work life skills. Now we have 3 minutes left. Would there be any questions in the audience or among the panelists that you would want to direct to us, Ronald and Phillip, or Jaakko?
I think, if I may, just a couple of things. As if we talk about what is the creative industry particularly, I think it's a cross-cutting throughout all the sectors in the world right now. We talk about the 21st century skills, and creativity is always mentioned there. So this vertical cross-cuts is something that cannot be replaced by machines. One of the buzzwords as mentioned was resilience. Creativity and creative sector is by nature, or at least should be, resilient. And I think what Ronald has told us, how they were going through YouTube channels, and because they had that kind of a burn to do this gaming stuff, is actually a really good indicator on how resilient the creative industry can be. So I would say that's a big thing.
Thank you, Jaakko, for this insight. Definitely agree with everything you're saying here. Would there be any questions from the Ugandan creative entrepreneurs to Finnish educationalists?
Well, I think mostly my question is something that you and Jenni have answered, I believe, but it would be, what would be the best way, to get a network together, because I really feel like so many people try to do it, but it never really pans out the way how I feel it should.
Thank you. I think to conclude, I think we know we need all kinds of interventions. We need the networks, we need training programs, we need events for networking and all this. And we're not saying with Jenni that we're going to do it just the two of us, but I think we want to be, or we will want to be part of the moment, changing this narrative on creative industries also in low and middle income countries. So very looking forward doing these important initiatives with partners. Jenni, do you have last words? You have 20 seconds.
Yes, I just saw that there is a question in the chat from Prashnu Malvia. So maybe we can answer that in the chat room since we are running out of time.
Yes, we'll meet you in the chat room. Thank you from our side, and let's talk.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.